It's Colleen, the Preparedness Pro, and I'm here with your pop-in today. I have a little bit of a bone to pick, not with you, but with the overall world of preparedness. I am on the warpath today. I'm going to set some facts straight today. I am going to talk about 20 mega myths. I call them mega myths because they get in the way of people's food preparedness, and it drives me batty. Can't you tell? If I'm a little loopy, it's because of the mega myths that I have to put up with. I'm telling you. So I'm just going to sit back, try to be calm, cool, and collected, and talk about. I made a list. It wasn't very hard to make this list. I mean, some of them were already, in my mind, and I've been dealing with for decades. And some of them I just spent some time this morning at 4 a.m. going through some of the preparedness pages and seeing people's questions and seeing worse some other people's answers. And you know what? Bless their hearts for trying to help people. But when I see the responses to their help and realize, rut-row, this person just got really discouraged, then that just breaks my heart. And because I don't want to see anybody get discouraged. I used to teach a preparedness class called Underwhelmed in Food Storage. And I specifically named it that because I felt that after the class, people could finally breathe and go, oh, I can do this. Yeah, heck yeah, I can do this. I don't need to be overwhelmed in food storage. So today I'm going to address these 20 mega myths. And if you are here, if you're with me, make comments. I appreciate it. If you've got questions about the mega myths, go for it. I'm ready for you. You might add a 21st or a 22nd or a 25th mega myth to the table, and that's fine with me. So here we go. All right. So the first mega myth is, well, it's not food storage. That's the mega myth. There's something wrong in our brains inherently if we're thinking about buying something and socking it away, something that is expendable, something that we don't need, something that just ages with time. You do not want to age better than your food storage, okay? So stop calling it and thinking about it like food storage. It's not food storage, it's your pantry. It's an expansion of your pantry. You need to think of it that way. You shouldn't have anything in that pantry that is not something that you love. Now, there are some of you out there, that try to abdicate your responsibility in putting together a pantry that you actually like. You just buy these big old packages of stuff and you call it good. That is going to stress you out when it comes time for you to use it. It will stress the crumb out of you because you won't be familiar with it. It won't bring you any comfort. It won't bring you any peace. And you're going to feel like it's expensive, that it's an expensive investment that just gets older with time. And that's not what it's about. This kind of preparedness was supposed to bring peace and comfort. Peace and comfort when you got it, peace and comfort when you use it. So let's stop calling it food storage, please. I know that it's a part of our culture in so many aspects. I'm not trying to say that men and women who call it food storage are inherently evil or don't get it. I'm not trying to say that. I'm just trying to say, change your mindset. Think of it the right way so that you attack it the right way, so that it brings you the right kind of feelings and emotions. I can handle a pantry, but food storage just doesn't sit well with our brain. Our brain goes, huh? We're gonna do that? What? So that's the first thing. So I'm gonna check that off my list and say that I got that off my chest. All right. The next one. A lot of people are asking, so how long do I need to be prepared where it comes to food? Some people will say 2 weeks. Some people will say 72 hours. But a lot of people are saying 3 months. Now, I know where a lot of these people are getting the 3 months from. Can I just say, and I'm just going to be candid here, the 1 year advice, wisdom has never gone away. It won't ever go away. If you look at crises and what has happened in crises, I mean, you guys forget that you lived through COVID? Did you guys forget Hurricane Katrina? You can't expect 3 months to be the be all and end all. Unemployment lasts longer than that, especially nowadays. So it's not realistic to think that 3 months is okie dokie. The wisdom that some people are relying on when they say the 3 months is the wisdom was given to have 3 months of familiar foods and then have longer of foods that'll store longer. So the 1 year has never been eliminated. 1 year is smart, 1 year is wise. A very wise man by the name of President W. Kimball once said that if you are obedient, you will have 1 year. If you are wise, you have more. So anyway, I'm just saying, this isn't for, I just know that a lot of people in their culture are influencing other people because of this. And if you're a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, you are looked to set an example because you are known to be raised in that whole preparedness mindset. And so let's make sure we're giving proper advice in the first place. Just my 2 cents. All right. Anyway, moving on. So it really should be 1 year. Now, that brings me to the other thing, is the other myth, is that food storage, again, because you're thinking of it as food storage, is so overwhelming. It doesn't have to be. It gets overwhelming when you do 2 things. One, when you think of it as just buying food and stocking it away. Yeah, that's overwhelming because, again, it just doesn't sit right. It doesn't make sense. And 2, you're thinking of all of the terrible things that have to go wrong in order for you to use that. So let's think of this differently. If I gave you an opportunity today to purchase something today that I told you was only going to increase in value, guaranteed from the moment you bought it, and continue to do so over the years, there's nothing else you can buy that gives you that guarantee. If you store it properly, if you package it properly, that's exactly what you're going to get out of food. And if you do it smart, where you're actually getting it at a discount, you're never going to pay full price for anything, because that's one of my commandments, thou shalt not pay too much, then you're going to always have, or you're going to always be able to say that that's what you accomplished. That leads me to the next myth, is that food storage is too big of an investment, and it's a wasted investment. It's Wall Street, people. It's your own personal Wall Street. There's nothing else, not car insurance, not homeowners insurance, not life insurance. There's nothing else that you can count on that you're going to need to do every day. You don't use your homeowners insurance every day. You don't use your car insurance every day, except to be in compliance with the law. You don't use your life insurance every day, thank goodness. But you do use your food insurance every single day if you do it right. It's not a wasted investment. It's something that you get benefit from right off the bat. That's a mega myth for people to think that it's just a waste. The reason why they're thinking that is because they're getting things that go bad and they're frustrated with that. We can talk about that, talk about things like rotating. talk about how to better package things. So that's going to make a big difference. Okay. So Sorry says, good afternoon. I just happened upon your channel. I'm so happy. Loved you on Doomsday Preppers. Sorry, that makes you very old because that was a very long time ago. No, I'm just kidding. It does feel like a lifetime ago, though. Thank you very much for popping in. I appreciate it. Okay. So next one. This is in no particular order. Next one is wheat stores for 30 years. Whoa, got your attention on that one, huh? You're all thinking, well, wheat does store for 30 years. In fact, wheat stores indefinitely. Didn't you know about the pyramids where they found wheat in the pyramids? Yes, I did. Do you know what kind of wheat they found in the pyramids? There are two different types of grain. There's hard grain and there's soft grain. Soft grains only store 8, and if you're real lucky, 10 years. Soft grains are teff, soft white wheat. See, that's a wheat, but that's only going to give you about 8 to 10 years under good circumstances. Maybe if you're really, really, really righteous, you might get longer than that. Maybe you'll get an extra little miracle of loaves and the fishes. But the bottom line is all wheat is not created equal. And because it's not created equal, we can't just arbitrarily say or with a blanket statement that wheat can be stored for 30 years. We are misleading people, and then they get frustrated when they make their bread out of their 30-year-old wheat, which they never should have socked away for 30 years in the first place, but that happens, because it was soft white wheat. So there's hard wheat or hard grains, and there's soft grains. Stocking up on hard grains and rotating through those, yeah, you can get 20, 30 years easy peasy. So there's another little tidbit for you. Okay. Another mega myth. I see people saying, I have this much in my pantry. I'd like to teach you a little lesson. Don't say you have this much in your pantry, even to yourself. Take this much and reduce it by 10%, because things happen. And isn't that about being prepared? Is preparing for what could happen? And I'm telling you, I have had personal experience, and I've done enough consulting with personal clients, and we've investigated their food storage. We've actually pulled cans out, opened them up, investigated them. How did this flour fare? How did these strawberries do? Et cetera, et cetera. And I'm telling you that things just happen. There's no rhyme or reason for why mold developed in a number 10 can of white flour. I just saw a video this morning in which that happened. And no rhyme or reason. All the other cans of white flour in this video were just fine, the same date. But things happen. So understand that your reserves are going to be reduced by about 10%. Plan on it. Okay? Just plan on it. All right. Next myth. We talked about food storage being overwhelming, and I told you that's because you're focused on, the whole year, perhaps. Some would say that you're focusing on the crises, but I just want to add to that something I forgot to say is just focus on the meals, one meal at a time. In my book, which I gotta plug my book, you guys, Neanderthals in the Kitchen. Okay, I plugged it. In my book, good for you, LaShawn. In my book, I talk about 12, the magic number 12. You've got a recipe that you love. You've got a recipe that not only do you love, but you know what the actual serving sizes are for your family. Don't fall into this crap where the recipe says serves 8 to 10. You're like, bullpucky, it barely serves 6 when I've got 3 teenagers and They're grown boys, and I know darn well it barely serves 5. Okay, so that's how you're going to prepare. Is you're going to you, you're going to prepare your meals based on how many servings you actually know. You're going to find the menu items that you love, and then you're going to get what you need for that menu item 12 times. 12. Easy number. 12. We can handle 12. Right? We can do that. Don't think 12 months of meals 3 times a day. That's overwhelming. Don't think like that. That's just goofy. You want to give yourself a heart attack? Don't do that. Just think it meal by meal. Meal by meal. Say, honey, I've got the chicken chow mein meal 12 times. We're good. And then pick 30 menu items that you can do that with. First, start with breakfast, because in an apocalypse, that's still the most important meal of the day. I can't wait until you get the cookbook and you see the peach oatmeal brulee. It's really yummy. Yeah, we're eating fine and dandy in that cookbook, I'm telling you. Okay. Hey, Bill. All right. So that's the other one. Okay. I'm going to save that one for later. Okay. Here's the other mega myth. But the list says I need blank. What's the list? Who created the list? Does the list have the same dietary needs as you do? Does the list have the same emotional eating habits as you do? Where'd the list come from? The list is just a starting point. I posted, I think it was last week. My days all kind of blur together. But I posted a post the other day where I actually worked off of a food calculator. And based on this food calculator, it was something like 57 pounds of grain per person for 1 month. And I don't remember the other measurements. It's a blur. But there were beans, there was powdered milk, there was honey, there was salt. There were a couple other items. And so I broke it down by the serving size. And when I was all done, it was yeast. There was yeast on there too. When I was all done, I created a loaf of bread for 1 serving size. And that loaf of bread was 4 inches long. So basically an oversized biscuit. And you know what the serving size was for the beans? 1/3 of a cup. Now we got some people saying, well, us Americans, we need to learn to eat less. I mean, I certainly do. I'm still working on that. My intermittent fasting's working. But you need 3, I got my numbers right, really. I could talk. You need 4,000 to 5,000 calories a day. You need to plan on 4,000 to 5,000 calories a day in a crisis, in a serious crisis, where you're going to have to be chopping your wood. You're going to be making every meal every day. You're going to be taking care of cleaning everything. You're going to be doing the laundry by hand. You're going to be hauling water. You're going to have a more caloric outspend. So you're going to need more calories. That 1/3 cup of beans and that 4-inch loaf of bread is not going to hack it. It will keep you alive. It will not keep you fully functional. It will not keep your brain functioning like it needs to. So the list, there's a lot of lists out there. There's a lot of food calculators out there. The best list is the one that you create for your family. Keep the caloric count in mind. I don't care. This is full of calories. This particular casserole dish is full of calories. It's got protein in it. It's got fat in it. And I take my nutrients, so I'm good. I know I'm good. And I do that all throughout the cookbook. Everything's high calorie. I do have some vegetarian dishes and some gluten-free dishes in the cookbook, but everything otherwise is good, sufficient calories. And it's all about tasting good and being good comfort food, so that when the family comes together to eat, they can go, everything's going to be okay. So having this list, just get what you normally eat. Work your list off of that. That's a mega myth. And sometimes that list can be overwhelming. I mean, when's the last time you sat down and you said, I walk this many steps every day without the little thing on your wrist, okay? You're going to be underestimating that or overestimating it. What about when you say how much gas do you think you still have in the car and how far you can get on that? Ever underestimated that? What about thinking how far your money is going to go? Have you ever underestimated that? Think you just might underestimate the amount of food that you need. If you do it the way that I share with you, the 12 servings, or excuse me, the 12 meals that you know work for your family, you're going to be fine. Take it meal by meal. Okay? Any questions? All right. Next one. Some people say you can never have enough. Yeah. I think that's the difference between being somebody who's trying to prepare for a crisis and, do I want to say this? Somebody who's missing the purpose of preparedness. Preparedness isn't about a destination. It's about a lifestyle, being self-sufficient. Focusing on preparedness is just about the bigger picture, the self-sufficient lifestyle. Can you have enough? Sure, you can have enough. Do you want a little bit more because you want to share and help other people? Okay, that's fine. But don't think that you can never have enough, because then you're going to think you'll never be okay. And that doesn't bring peace. That doesn't bring any comfort. Ultimately, that peace and comfort doesn't come from the checklist that you can mark off. It doesn't come from the CPR certification. It doesn't come from your target shooting. That peace and comfort comes from the very action of doing what you need to do to take care of yourself, and knowing that you can rely on yourself, and knowing that you've got a strong fundamental fortitude, both spiritually and mentally. That's where the peace and comfort comes from. It does not come from beans, Band-Aids, and bullets. Okay, next one. Whole wheat is a must. Everybody talks about whole wheat. Got to store whole wheat. I mean, the other day I said, look, here's 4 items that you should focus on, but you could get by on. But I was careful to say grains, not whole wheat. Whole wheat does not belong in everybody's diet. Not only that, but hard red wheat does not belong in everybody's diet. Some people need organic, although we could talk about the fraud of organic foods, but I'm not going to do that right now. That's in my book. Okay. Oh, I'm glad you ordered my book. Sorry. The fact of the matter is everybody has their dietary restrictions. Some people are carnivore. Well, then they better be canning meat. That's all I can say. That's their diet. That's what they need to subsist on. And by the way, I understand that people who eat the carnivore diet do not get bit by mosquitoes. I've had several people tell me that, who are on the carnivore diet, that they don't get bit by mosquitoes. Well, now you don't need eating off. That's good. Or skin so soft or whatever. That's wonderful. Anyway. Okay. So whole wheat is not a must. You are still part of the club if you do not have whole wheat. Okay. I will accept you. I will bring you in. If you do not have whole wheat, you're still aces. I do suggest you have some form of grain, though. And the reason being is because not only then would you have grain for flour, for carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates, but you would also then have the means to sprout. And sprouting is vital. That's how you have vegetables in a never-ending supply, is by being able to sprout. That's really important. Okay, next one. Did I already do this one? Food storage is complicated. Nope. Only if you make it that way. How do you organize it? has to be organized. I will say that. You cannot rely on something you can't find. In fact, any military person would tell you you can't rely on something you can't find in the dark. But food storage is not complicated. Again, it's that word food storage I'm just using for your benefit. I don't like saying those two words together. But it's not complicated. And there are all these rules about, well, use an oxygen absorber in this. Well, don't do this. And well, make sure you have 2 months of this, but 3 weeks of this. And I understand why it might come across that way. But that's why the first principle of preparedness is spiritual preparedness, so that you don't fall for everybody's rules, so that you have what's right for your family, for what's right for you. Because it's not right for everybody. Everybody doesn't need to store wheat. Everybody doesn't need to go off of this food calculator. It's not complicated unless you make it that way. Just go meal by meal. Just do what you can. If you can only have one extra meal a month and that's all you can do because you're barely living hand to mouth, good for you doing one meal a month extra. Good for you. And I firmly believe that if we do all we can, he'll take care of us. But you have to be in earnest doing all you can. I do believe that. All right, moving on. Oxygen absorbers. Some people think that oxygen absorbers remove moisture. They do not. They are oxygen absorbers. I can't believe I even have to say this, but I didn't want to be contentious with somebody on a page. I didn't want to act like I knew all that. I'll do it on my channel instead. They're oxygen absorbers. They do not remove moisture. They just remove oxygen. So you could still have mold in something. Keep in mind that plastic, whether it's a 5-gallon bucket or some other type of plastic that I'll get to in a second, plastic is not impervious to oxygen and moisture. Doesn't matter how thick that plastic is, it's not impervious to oxygen and moisture. So that's why I recommend using a Mylar bag in a bucket, is because then you've got more protection against moisture and oxygen. That's a much, or critters. Critters can get through a Mylar bag, critters can get through plastic. Critters are less likely to smell the food and get through the plastic and the Mylar. That's just all there is to it. So oxygen absorbers do not take care of moisture. Okay, we clear on that? I hope so. All right, moving on. Okay, this is goes along with that. PET bottles. PET bottles are, somebody thought that they were good protection. Nope, they are not, because they are a plastic. They are not impervious to oxygen and moisture. You do not want oxygen and moisture on your grains. Like in the book, I suggest that people stock up on popcorn. Hey, it's a fun food to eat, but you can grind it for your cornmeal. But I wouldn't be storing it in a PET container because it's not impervious to oxygen and moisture. You could get mold in there over time. So depending on the humidity of your environment. So some people don't think about that because moisture in their environment, like Arizona, they don't have to think about that. And so they spout off in the groups, that they just store things in the PET. And then the person reading in New Jersey, where there's humidity, is going, oh, I can just store my stuff in PET. PET is great for organization in your cupboards, maybe, when you're pulling out of your bigger buckets. But it's not wise to have things in PET for long-term storage. You will see products in the store packaged in PET. They're not packaging it long-term for you, folks. They could care less if it's going to last 10 years for you, okay? They want you to buy it again and again and again. All righty? Okay, moving on. That takes me to my next thing, repackaging. There's this myth that everything needs to be repackaged. Well, not everything does. Canned goods don't need to be repackaged. Although, if you have a Costco business center near you and you're buying the number 10 cans of beets, for example, or vegetables or salsa or whatever, you may want to recan those in jars so that you're just opening up the smaller portions. But a lot of things do need to be repackaged because they are not packaged to last their longest shelf life. And so, yeah, that's the work of food preparedness. So that is necessary, and it's a good investment of your time. It's will save you frustration. Remember, it's your Wall Street. You need to protect it. That's the investment. Protect the investment. That's your job, is to protect your investment. So if that means repackaging, then that's worth it. Protect the investment. Okay? It's one of the things I talk about in my book. All right, next. I've written about this and talked about it a lot, but expiration dates. Now the industry has gotten a little bit more savvy. Now they have best by dates. Let me tell you about best by dates. Best by dates actually came up in a marketing conversation. And they came up with this term by a slip of the tongue, if you will, that it would be best if they bought again after so much time. And so that's how the best buy date came into life. Is the marketing team said, hey, it would be best if they bought. So that's how you got the best buy date. So it would be best if you bought it by such and such a date. Has nothing to do with the integrity of the contents of that food. As long as you store it in 70-degree temperatures or better in dry, dark environment, canned goods are nearly impervious. They are canned in a highly sanitized situation. Sorry for the dogs. They're not preppers in training. They're going to be food if they keep it up. I lived in the Philippines. They eat dogs there. I keep trying to tell them that, but they just don't take me seriously. They just ignore me and keep on typing. Anyway, okay, so expiration dates. There are no requirements for expiration dates on any food except for baby formula. So think about it. You don't have expiration dates on those strawberries that go bad 3 days later after you bring them home. There's no requirements. So stop torturing yourself and worrying about the expiration dates on your food. Rotate your food, yes. First in, first out. But don't torture yourself with the expiration dates. Don't say, oh, there's no way I can get through all these cans of diced tomatoes in a year. Yeah, but if you're getting them for 99 cents, get what you can, what your budget can afford, and then rotate through those. If it takes you a year and a half to get through them, then so be it. And then just keep replacing the cans as you use them. That's smart. All right. Next, Mylar does not make a food last forever. Sorry, it doesn't. I've seen a lot of people pack stuff in Mylar and go, if you just pack it in Mylar and use an oxygen absorber, it's going to last forever. Try that with flour. Not going to happen. Sorry. I have nothing else to say to that except that it's just a fact. It's just not going to happen. Mylar is not some super duper material. There's these, what are they called? Super buckets that are lined with Mylar and come with an oxygen absorber. They're more expensive, but that doesn't mean it's going to last forever. I'm asked, does this apply to meat in a can? Yes, meat in a can. If you ask the Amish how long their canned meat lasts, they'll say, well, until I eat it. Canned goods, if you do it properly, will last a very, very long time. Even your own home canned goods. Just rotate. Don't can something just for the sake of having it there in food storage. That's not what we want. Nobody wants 20-year-old hamburger soup, okay? It just doesn't sound appetizing. But do it so that you can stabilize your dollar. That's smart. That's really smart. Okay, so Mylar does not make food last forever. Something like flour, you're good for 5 years on flour. Again, it's just not realistic on some things. So just know that it's not a super fabric. Okay. And also Mylar is impervious to mice. So you can't just store things in Mylar and think that you're okay. Just FYI. That's why a lot of people put things in Mylar, sometimes smaller Mylar bags, and then in a bucket. But again, I think that those kinds of stashes are intended for people who are stocking food for long term. They're not rotating. The foods that I rotate don't typically go in Mylar bags unless it's a long-term rotation, such as my wheat. It takes me a while to go through the wheat. It's just me. I mean, I make loaves of bread and take them to people, but I can only do so much. All right, next one. I mentioned this about food storage being a waste of resources. There's a couple things that I want to bring up, though. It's the number one insurance policy that you'll have. It's the one insurance policy that's actually worth the money that you're spending on it. It's the one spending power that you have that's actually taking you back in time. What other spending power do you have is doing that? I mean, seriously, when I get chicken breasts or for $1.99, I mean, I can't believe I'm excited about $1.99 chicken breasts when I used to be excited about 99 cents or $1.49. But chicken breasts, when I go to get my canned chicken, it's still $1.99. It doesn't matter that it's 2024. It's still $1.99. So I go back in time. When I make a loaf of bread for my wheat, I'm making 4 loaves for $5.80. When's the last time you were able to buy 4 loaves for $5.80? 1990 something. I'm going back in time. So it's not the worst investment. Making food from scratch is not your worst investment either. And that takes me to my next mega myth. Sorry. Food storage is expensive. Not if you do sales and not if you cook from scratch. When you buy those ready meals, those freeze-dried ready meals, it's expensive. And I'm sorry, but I like my cooking better than those ready meals. I'm not saying that there's no such thing as a ready meal that's good. I just haven't found one yet. I was a culinary instructor for a bit, and I just haven't found anything that I like better. I like comfort food. I love flavor. I love the umami, and I haven't found anyone who's umami logical when they're making those freeze-dried foods. I'm asked the question, how did you move your whole stash to the Philippines? I wasn't into preparedness yet when I lived in the Philippines. I learned a lot about preparedness when I was in the Philippines. I had some semblance of preparedness mindset, but I was only 21 when I was in the Philippines, so I wasn't quite on top of things yet when I was in the Philippines. Okay, some people, the next mega myth is that doing it wrong is deadly, and so they're afraid to do it at all. Okay, so what they're really saying is that they're scared to death of botulism. So let's talk about botulism for a minute. For one thing, everybody, especially on these canning pages I'm in these canning groups, and people are always screaming at each other, all capital letters, "You're going to get botulism if you do it that way." Well, I'm just going to cut to the chase here. I'm a rebel canner. I can, with some U.S. standards, but I can with European standards. And guess what? The Europeans don't have a pressure canner. Most of them don't. I'm not saying that they can't get it, but it's not common in Europe. Water bath canning is in Europe. Now, I won't can meat in a water bath for 3 hours unless I had to. If for some reason my pressure canner didn't work and it was society down, well, then I'd be water bath canning it. But botulism is not as rampant as they would like you to believe. There are millions and millions of home canners out there. And yet last year, you want to know how many cases of food-borne botulism there was? 1. 1 case, 1 person died. That's it. I'm not trying to say that that person wasn't important, but I'm just trying to say that it's not the big scary beast that people are making it out to be. And the reason why is because if you cook your food at 185 degrees for 5 minutes, voila, no big bad botulism. So I think most of us know to cook our food. Anyway, you're not going to kill people. You're preparing. Say your prayer before every meal too. That helps. You know, give thanks for it, but also bless it. Bless it out the wazoo. Okay. I've got 2 more. Commercially packaged is the best kind of food storage to get. No, you can trust your own canning. Commercially packaged goes bad. Commercially packaged is not intended for long-term use, we'll say storage. It's not intended for that. If it was, it would come in Mylar bags and buckets. And it's not. I mean, canned goods, that's fine. But they don't put a best by date of 20 years on a canned good. Frankly, I was surprised when I bought some shelf-stable whole milk that the best by date was 1 year and 4 months from the date I bought it. I was surprised that they actually put it that far out. That surprised me. But anyway, it just... Those are the facts, people. Commercially packaged foods are not necessarily the best. Have you heard of the food recalls that have gone on this year? An entire boar's head plant in Virginia or West Virginia, I get my Virginias mixed up, is being closed indefinitely because of food recalls. These are commercially packaged products. Food recalls are commercially packaged products. They have made people very sick. Ever hear of E. coli? Okay? So, no, commercially packaged products are not the be all and the end all. I trust my own canning methods, even though I have a cat. She's not allowed on the counters or the table, though, and she knows it. I trust my own canning methods, my own recipes better than I trust the commercial products. I made my own mozzarella the other day. I made 2 batches, and oh, it's so good. But I know I'm not going to get sick from it. I'm not going to get any listeria from it. All right, you had your piece. Now don't say anything else because I got 1 more to go. Okay, last one. This one's a tough one, but we're going to tackle it. Food storage makes you a target. How many of you think that? The food storage makes you a target. Folks, first of all, we live in a troubled world. There are a lot of things that could make you a target. Leaving your purse on your front seat in your car makes you a target. Food storage does not make you a target. Talking about food storage, now that can make you a target. Bragging about it, making sure that you give everybody your address so that they remember But just because you walk out of Costco with a loaded cart does not make you a target. You think somebody's standing there and going, "Oh, that was a full cart. I'm going to follow them home now." No, it doesn't work that way. People have got too much going on to be focused on that. And you know what? Criminals are lazy. I don't know what's going to happen in a society down situation. I do know that people are going to be desperate. My job is to make sure I'm not one of them. My job is to make sure that I'm ready for desperate people, which I'm doing my best that I can. That doesn't mean that I have to be ready to be a sharpshooter. That's not my only readiness. I have to be ready spiritually and mentally. I have to be ready in all the other aspects of preparedness. Food storage does not make you a target. Just don't talk about it. You can have subterfuge. Pack your food storage, if you're going to call it that, in totes and label it Christmas decorations, so that when somebody comes over to your house, they just think that you really love Christmas. That's people thinking, hey, girls, it's people thinking about the worst case scenario. And that's stocking up on fear. And we're not going to get anywhere positive if all we do is stock up on fear. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. These are the mega myths that I just couldn't tolerate anymore. I had an axe to grind with them, and I wanted to get real. And if you have any questions, go ahead and message me at Preparedness Pro over on the Facebook page, and I hope this is beneficial to you. You can also put questions in the comments below. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can put the questions there. I don't think people are paying as much attention as you think they are. Now, when things go south, yeah, they'll be paying attention. But by then, I'm not going to Costco and stocking up on anything. It'll already be done. Nobody will see me. Okay? All right. I hope this was helpful. I hope I set some things straight. Maybe I made you mad on a couple things. I'm sorry. That wasn't my intention. And I will talk to you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.